Hello and welcome to the podcast that discusses all things gaming, coming to you from the home of Indie PopCon, Gen Con, and the gaming capital of the world. This is The Established Facts. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the After the Fact Indiana ComicCon edition. I don't have a note paper in front of me.
Sean,
you know, that thing.
2016.
The lips, the
Don't forget
teeth,
the
the tongue, and the
thing.
mouth that doesn't work. What is this, episode 120?
Yes, actually, I believe so.
That was a good guess. It's probably 121, but he's going to give me the...
Continue, I'll figure it out.
Oh, I'm rambling. It's okay.
Rolling.
Anyway, as we do, we are at Indiana ComicCon 2016. This is not a time warp, and we are kind of talking about some of the things that we've experienced at the con, what we like, what we don't like. Look at that, 120, man. I'm on it. I just got lucky, really. Anyway, this is kind of our start of real con season. We've done a couple of smaller local cons that were a lot of fun. Hoosier Con.
Take that water.
Yeah, take that water. And we've done Hoosier Con, which was a lot of fun. And Indiana Comic Con kind of kicks off the big convention center cons. We got Indie PopCon coming up in June, Gen Con coming up in August.
And then we go hibernate.
In Conjunction, I think, is in July, but that's at the Wyndham Airport Hotel, I believe, or something.
In Conjunction?
Yeah. I think it's in July. I know.
Was it at the Marriott the last couple
It
of
may
years?
be at the Marriott.
I don't know.
remember.
It wasn't the
Look up-
Marriott. It might have moved. I'm not sure.
Look up In Conjunction. It's the sci-fi convention.
Yeah. Sci-fi gaming. They've
July
got a lot of
4th
really fun
weekend.
stuff. But anyway, before I decide, to continue to ramble on and everyone just turns this episode off, let's go ahead and go around the table and see who's here with us, starting to my left.
This is Princess Kaytie.
I'm Avital.
This is Josh, producer of the podcast.
This is Josh, not producer of the podcast. This is Aaron.
This is Lance, and I listen to the podcast.
And this is Prime, who's also not the producer of the podcast.
And this, of course, is your host, Big Don, who apparently can't get his foot out of his mouth. So, we're going to talk about some of the experiences that we've had at conventions in general, but specifically right now at Indiana Comic-Con. One of the things that plagues cons are queues or lines, for those of you who live on this side of the pond. So, lines when it comes to registration.
Big queues for those that live on the other side of the pond.
He
I
said
said
lines for
queues
this
or
side.
You did it right.
Okay.
Right.
He did it. Correctly.
Thank you, Katie and Avital, and anyone else who didn't talk. Aaron and Josh, thank you.
You're welcome for that job.
All of the Josh. Anyway, so, something that obviously you have to deal with when you're at a convention is standing in lines, whether it comes to badge registration, event registration, getting autographs, buying things from artists. We've talked several times about some simple things that you can do to help kind of curtail the amount of time you spend in lines. But we really want to use the first part of the podcast with our Versus topic, talking about using a virtual queue system or even like a ticket number system like you might have used in the grocery store, 50 years ago. Or standing in line for, at the deli, getting meat.
I was thinking more like the BMV, but
No, I got it. Okay.
Apparently, I need to be on a podcast with,
I was with you because I am the old guy.
I knew you were.
You
I knew
said
what
the
you were
grocery
talking about,
That's
but
what we need.
you said 50 years
we
ago,
need,
and I was like,
we need septuagenarians on our podcast.
The confused look at you you was because you said the grocery store.
Yeah,
I'm like,
not the
I
B&B.
didn't know you could pull for working in the whole store.
No, the whole store.
No, like you
At
go to
the deli counter.
deli counter,
Sure.
things like that.
You don't take a number before you walk in the door just to wander around the store?
They only have that for gingers.
Oh, man.
I take all the numbers. Any number I see, I'm taking.
I just take the whole number dispenser and I
on
put it
sale.
around my
On
bathroom.
sale, taking it.
Now,
So you're the guy who goes to the deli and I'm like, I don't actually need any meat, but I'm going to be next in line. And number
I'll
20.
take 2 pounds of
Number 20. That's number 20.
Just take a whole row of them.
There you go.
So moving back to queuing up in line.
Wow.
So
Thanks
we're all
for bringing us
here.
back for that detour.
Yeah,
Kaytie.
I feel like this is a Sunday afternoon after a con podcast, and it really isn't. Like,
Well, no, it's a Saturday afternoon
yeah, but I think
after
we're
a
all
con.
kind of, to an extent, sleep deprived.
Kind of in the middle of a con, actually. Not quite after the con.
So anyway, so physical queues versus a virtual queue system or a ticket taking system. We're going to use that as our versus topic. What do you prefer? Josh and Aaron, this is the first time you guys have been on the show. The way that we do our versus topics is we go around the table and everybody kind of gives a quick fire answer as to what you like better. So, tech versus standing in line. And then we'll go back around the table, kind of talk about why we feel the way we do about the answers that we've given. And then that usually leads into a discussion, which obviously our discussion is going to be Indiana ComicCon, but then also some of the things that we want to prepare people for when it comes to the con world and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Kaytie. We'll go around the table. So virtual line or physical line?
I've never actually been in a virtual line before. I've only ever been in a physical line to get autographs or pictures. So I will have to say physical line because I'm pretty ignorant on the whole virtual line thing.
Okay. Avital?
I've also only done I mean, like, I've paid for, like, a photo shoot,
Sure.
and so I'm going to have to say virtual line. And I'll talk more on that in a second.
Josh?
I'm going to go with virtual as well.
Since I just stood in line for 3 hours for 2 autographs, I'm going to say virtual line.
There you go. Aaron?
I've used a virtual queue at other cons before, so I go virtual on that.
Go ahead, Lance.
I've been gone from the podcast for a while, so I get to be the official fence sitter today.
Hey, I've been gone too, so...
Hey, me too.
Me too.
But you guys chose sides, so I'm choosing the fence. You can have the fence pole.
Lance is on the fence. Prime.
Of course he is.
I don't know. I don't really have any experience with being in lines for autographs or photographs or anything, like selfies or whatever.
You just did today.
Okay. That was like 20
There was no- I was
people.
gonna
That was like
say,
20 people, dude.
It was a line, man.
Okay. Have you ever waited in line for, say, concert tickets?
No.
Have you ever waited in line for anything ever that you were really looking forward to?
Has he ever been looking forward to anything is the question.
Touche.
I'm completely apathetic.
Welfare checks.
This will be a first. So you don't have an answer?
I don't have an answer.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Acceptable?
Wow.
You're welcome.
We won't smite you till we're off the air.
Good Lord. I'm going to have to say I definitely enjoy the virtual queue or being able to take like a number or something like that over standing in line.
Did anybody say physical?
Kaytie did.
Kaytie, 'cause
She's
she's got experience.
Yeah, so, I mean, yeah. Let's start there. Lance was on the fence.
Okay.
So, if you had the experience of being able to do a virtual queue versus standing in line, keeping a guaranteed spot, Kaytie, how would you feel about that?
I mean, that'd be great because I could then not have to stand in line with 80 million people in front of me and be like, oh, there's 17 people in front of me. I can make my way back over there, mosey, and get in line for my picture.
So I guess maybe that's kind of the question: is why is something that is like a virtual line or ticket taking kind of desired more than physically standing in line? I'm going to start with Lance because you're kind of the fence sitter, so you can kind of give us both sides of that.
Okay, I really depend. I think it depends on what the goal of the line is.
Sure.
For example, getting tickets to an event, I wouldn't mind being able to call up and say, I'm going to be there at such and such a time. That's fine. But like today, standing in line for autographs for a specific celebrity, I liked standing in the physical line for that because then I get to talk with the people in that line about the thing that we're all passionate about, or the person that we're all passionate about.
Sure.
So today it was Leah Thompson's line for me. I got to talk with people about the different movies that she's been in. I saw that there was one kid who saw Back to the Future for the first time last year, Back to the Future year, and we got to compare like how it felt in the 80s to see that movie versus in the 2000 teens.
Sure.
So when you have that like-minded hive mind attitude of this is what we're all here for and it's great, and you can get along, I'd rather be in a line with those people. But at like Disney, where you're just in line to ride a ride and then go and ride another ride, give me the virtual line anytime.
Yeah.
Because then it's just go from one place to another to another.
Okay. Now, Josh, you said you waited in line for how long?
About 3 hours.
And
for
who
two.
Who were you getting your autographs from?
I came to see Sean Schemmel and Chris Sabat from Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
We started with Chris because everyone seems to be more of a Vegeta fan. That took us about 2.5 hours to get through.
Wow.
So virtual line would have been awesome. I could have seen the rest of the con,
right,
as opposed to standing there for 2.5 hours waiting. And as soon as we got out, we walked over to Sean's, and Aaron said, yeah, no, and walked away. And I stood there. That one only took about a half hour. It moved a lot faster, but my knees hurt at this point from just standing. So
And you were in line for 3.5?
About 3.5 hours.
That's nuts. I don't know if I'd want to do that. I actually passed up a chance because we wanted to sit down and record. One of my favorite cosplayers this year, doing autographs and things like that, and I was going to jump in line, and there was probably 50 people in line. I was like, there's no way I can sit down and do this podcast in any timely fashion if I want to stand in that line. And I think that for me, the draw to doing a virtual line is kind of being able to always have that saved seat, and then like maybe getting a text message or even a phone call and say, hey, this is your roll call for your line, and then maybe like, having a physical line there so that you're attracting attention for people to get involved in ordering a ticket or getting a spot in that line, but then giving them a warning to say, hey, 5 more minutes and you're going to be up, or your number's going to be up, and then you can actually have them come in and get into the queue for that specific person.
I remember a couple, I think it was either last year or the year before, when we had Tracy Hickman on before Gen Con, and he was discussing the business plan that he had out there for doing a virtual queue system, that was something that was a real issue at a lot of conventions. I know PopCon last year, had they had any amount of virtual something to handle the YouTube line, it would have helped out a lot.
Right.
But
insane.
All day, I mean, pretty much the second half of today, most of the big name lines were full the whole time.
Yeah.
Which was good, but it looked like they were doing almost entirely virtual based, and most of the big name folks, because you'd have to pay for your selfie or your autograph or whatever before you could get in line. That way there wasn't a transaction going on at the table, and it was just you're getting in line to go see whoever this is. But you still were paying to wait in line. Were you paying for a time slot?
It really depended on what you went for. I had the honor of doing both, so I did do an autograph and I did a photo. The photo op said, be here at this such and such a time. Whereas the autograph was just, she's going to be here from this time to this time. If you're in line, you're in line. If you're not here, well, then hopefully you can get to the next one. So there was no specific set time for that one. But for photos, you had a very specific, yours is 11:15, yours is 11:16, yours is 11:17. So that people would get there 30 minutes early. What time's on your card? I'm sorry, you can't get in line yet.
Photos you could pay early. For the autographs, we actually did still pay at the table.
Oh, you did? Okay.
For a couple of the guests, For some of the guests, they still had you pay at the table, which does kind of slow down the entire process. I would like to argue at least for physical for 1 second. This is my first con, and I think that it's kind of like paying your dues. You know, your first time, you got to go stand in line and get the experience at some point. I was actually looking forward to it until about hour 2.5.
Right.
I was done.
And I think that I think that the draw to having a physical line where people are present because they've ordered that slot, but then also having the availability to order that slot, being able to come in and say, okay, I want to take slot 24, which happens to be at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, because I'm not doing anything at that time. I can go around and see the exhibit hall first. To me, that's kind of the big draw, and you still get that experience of being able to stand in line and have that anticipation build and being able to kind of hang out and talk to people that are in line, because for me, that's the draw of standing in any physical line is, you know, even if I'm at the bank or something like that, if I'm there for more than like 4 or 5 minutes, mostly because I'm a fairly extreme extrovert, I'm going to start talking to the person either in front of me or behind me just to kind of pass the time, because if we're having a conversation, we're not focused on how long it's been since we got into this line. But after an hour and a half of talking to the same people in the line, moving just every, 2 feet every, 5 or 10 minutes, I mean, that's rough. Like that to me takes away that draw to want to be in that line. And honestly, I think that's probably one of the biggest turnaways for me when it comes to getting autographs and stuff like that. Like I would much rather just try and luckily for us with being a podcast, when we do exhibitor stuff and things like that, and we're there to set up early, and they bring a lot of times they'll bring the people in who are doing autographs, guests and stuff like that, and we might get an extra 5 or 10 minutes before the con opens for the VIP guys, and I'll just run over and I'll just say, hey, Edward James Olmos, I just want to let you know that, Battlestar Galactica, you were everything in that show for me, and I really appreciate everything you've done. And just having that 5-second exchange to me is enough to say, yeah, I met Edward James Olmos, you know what I mean? And I didn't have to stand in line, and I didn't have to pay whatever the money is for the autograph and the photo op. Go ahead.
We're focusing a lot on the positives for the individual ones. A positive for a standing in line is you might draw more of a crowd that way. Like people say,
right.
If anytime anyone sees a line, what's that line for?
Who's that over there?
Yeah. And instead of, I'm here to see this one person, but look, there's a line over there, and it's a short enough one that I might go over there and see who that is. A negative for the virtual line is, even though you have your specific time slot, we've all faced it, life gets in the way, people's schedules come into conflict, and you end up standing in line anyway. Yeah. So it might be a shorter line, but you're still ending up standing in line for 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
That's very true.
My experience when I went down to Cincinnati to see Jewel State, I got there early in the morning and stood in line for an autograph, and then went down to where the photos were and paid for my photo. And photos are you guys said that there was a very specific time on your photo slots, but a lot of times at cons it's this chunk of time and you have to come back during that chunk of time before that time starts, and then you still have to stand in line and and wait for your picture, because there's going to be a lot of people wanting pictures, but they will only, sell as many slots as they know they have time for. I mean, they can get through a lot of people, because it's just go stand and snap a picture, and then it's done.
The photo ops they feel a lot more streamlined than the autographs, because you don't have that personal interaction that you do with the autographs, so they kind of know how many tickets they can sell within that time period.
Yeah.
And they've gotten really good about posting the rules for the photo ops too. If you want to do a specific pose, have it ready in your mind. If you have something you want to do, hand to them so they hold it with you, have everything ready. And they have the right to say no. They could just be sitting there, they'll look at you, they'll smile, they'll take your picture, and then they'll usher you out.
Okay, so I'll present, though it's not completely con-related, but it very well could be. My wife and I just got back from Disney World. Some of you may have seen that on Facebook. And one of the benefits they have at Disney World is the Fast Pass Plus system. And what that is you get the opportunity to reserve 3 certain rides at a particular time of day. They've just modified it to be a particular time of day. And there's certain sets of rides that support FastPass Plus and some that do not. Whereas Universal Studios in Orlando, and I don't know if they have it in Hollywood, but I would think so, actually has like 10 or 12 rides that have this express ticket that you can pay for. You pay more for, but all of those rides, if you've got the ticket, you get into what would be their FastPass queue. So with Disney, it's limited to 3, and then once you use those 3, you can get up to 3 more, one at a time. Universal is you get them all for a flat fee. For one, my question would be, which would you prefer in that instance? And do you think it could be applied at a convention level? I mean, they had, 12 significant artists or whatever that were in here. People could either pay for a chunk to be able to get time with each one of them, or if a VIP said, okay, there's 12 of them, you get to choose 3. What do you see? I would probably prefer the latter, the option of, for one, having a VIP option, because everyone should get the equal opportunity. But if you're paying for a VIP, you're going to want treatment, and that makes sense. But having a VIP treatment where you get to choose X number to see. I know PopCon's planning on taking that route. All the VIPs you get X number of meet and greets. So, thoughts? I don't know. I'm just kind of throwing that out there as an extension of the conversation.
I don't know. For me, Indiana Comic-Con's like really unique in the fact that they don't have any VIP type ticketing at all. I mean, as opposed to most of the other cons that I go to, even ones that have virtual queues like Chicago TARDIS, they have like preferred memberships, and then they have steps up from that you can actually get ahead of people within the virtual queue. And Indiana Comic-Con just is flat ticketing. You either get a 3-day pass, you do single-day passes, and you just wait in line with everybody else, which is really nice for everybody that can't afford the extra for the VIP. But at the same time, there's been many times, like last year and this year. Last year at Indiana Comic-Con, I waited 3 hours for Billy West alone, and I was dying for just that opportunity at a VIP anything. So I think if they do it needs to be limited quantities like they usually are. But I feel like that takes away some of the charm, because I do find it charming that Indiana Comic-Con doesn't offer VIPs. I think it's a very unique thing for a convention to go that route. It's not generally a popular route. It might be one that they give in on in the future, but I like that they've stuck to that so far for 3 years.
I kind of agree. VIP status is nice if you can afford it, but if not, then you're always left going, well, why does that person get to go ahead of the line just because they have more money than me? I paid for my ticket too.
That's how it is. If you go to Cedar Point, they have the Fast Pass tickets you can buy that gives you front of the line for like every ride except for like the 3 newest ones, and you have to get like the Fast Pass plus whatever it is. Then you can get all of them. But it's an extra like $70 or something on top of your ticket. But yeah, then you have people who have been waiting in line for this ride for 3 hours because it just opened. Then you see this family of like 10 people moving right up to the front of the line, and that just tends to increase hostility.
Yeah.
Especially on a hot day.
Oh, that was it. Especially outside at an amusement park, a theme park, someplace like that, for sure.
Well, I think you have the same emotional connection to that if you go to a restaurant and somebody's put in reservations for 8 o'clock and you walk in at 7:30 and they say, oh, your wait's 45 minutes, and then at 8 o'clock these people walk in and literally get seated immediately, and you're like, well, what the heck? I've been waiting here for 45 minutes, and I still got 10 more minutes to go before I'm going to get my seat. And these guys,
I would think that the hostility increases the longer you've been in line. 45 minutes, not so long to wait.
Well,
but if you've been in line for 3 hours, like she said,
right,
or he said, then yes, what the heck?
But
at the same time, though, you get what you pay for. In that case, in the VIP case, if you want to pay that extra, then you should be able to get those types of benefits. Because getting a VIP pass generally for most conventions is significantly more than a regular pass. So why wouldn't you get those perks? You know what I mean?
That's true.
Could you instead have maybe like a VIP meet and greet to where like you don't have to wait in line, but it's not at the regular time when the normal one is. Like everybody else queues up like they do
Kind of like
for
how they do
whatever.
with concerts and stuff like that.
Yeah, like a
Stage pass.
Yeah, yeah, and I've gone.
I can see that.
I've gone to conventions where they have time slots VIP only, and if you're VIP and you don't get within that time slot, you're general
like
admission.
everybody else,
So
I love that idea.
I really like
cool.
that idea as well. Yeah, that's kind of a really good in between. Having the perk of being a VIP, but I mean, it's really on your schedule. If you
Yeah.
decide you're not going to be there when that perk is there, then you're pretty much, kind of screwing yourself in that situation. Overall, though, I think that having opportunities to have a VIP, like a VIP ticket to get extra perks, or I know a lot of times we're going to be. We have the privilege of being the host podcast at Indie PopCon this year, and one of those cool opportunities that we have is to be able to put some swag in some of the VIP bags that they have. I think they're doing like 100 VIPs or something like that.
And maybe more than that. We'll need to
We're
look.
working out getting some swag to put in there, some flyers and stuff like that. So I'm really I'm really excited about that. But I think that the one thing that bothers me a little bit about the separation between, and I guess you could call it kind of like a caste system between the general admission versus the VIP admission, is some of the perks you just feel like you get left out when you don't. If you go to Gen Con and I have people throwing money at me. This is the first time I've gotten paid for podcasting. So if
How's it feel?
It feels right, Brian. If you nothing cool. So if you if you go to Gen Con and you buy a VIG pass, and I think it costs like $500 or something like that for a VIG, you get a slew of different like swag bags and like different opportunities, and you get
Front row seats to every
front row
panel.
seats to every panel, and you get they have a special VIG party. I think on Wednesday night that you're invited to go to, and you get first dibs on the hotel block. So there's a ton of perks that you get for paying $500.
Right, but the general
If
public
you-
is not invited to a lot of that.
But that's
which
what
I think was his point.
That's what I was getting ready to say. If you're a general admission person, your swag bag is a coupon book at Gen Con. The last couple of years they've done those like I get those bags, like the Gen Con bags that
Sure.
you get, stuff like that. But and I'm not saying that you have to, that you have to throw everybody something that's extremely cool. But I mean, one thing that I really looked forward to up until the last 4 or 5 years of Gen Con was coming in and getting a swag bag with like maybe a promo pack of a new card game that was just released by somebody, and then like a couple of dice from a couple different vendors advertising their booth and stuff like that. And now I think what they've done is obviously they've replaced that coupon book with saying, hey, you have all these coupons in here, go to these places, they'll give you this swag for these different things, or they'll give you this discount if you bring this coupon, which I think is cool for promotional purposes. But I think it still kind of loses its luster because some people, like our friend Derek, they only have a certain amount of hours that they get to spend in the exhibit hall because they're running games or they're helping host different events. And so the time that they do spend in the exhibit hall, they want to play a new game. They don't want to have to walk around for 3 hours trying to get the promo stuff out of the coupon book. 9 times out of 10, they just throw it at one of us and say, hey, I can't get half of this stuff. Go ahead and, have at it. So, I mean, like, how do you guys feel about, in general, when it comes to, or like in Indiana Comic-Con, there's not a whole lot, there's not really a swag bag thing. And a lot of cons don't do that. And maybe I'm kind of barking up the wrong tree when it comes to that kind of thing. But how do you feel about, promo stuff or swag, as it would, from different places and being able to have that versus paying an exuberant amount of money compared to everybody else and missing out on so much more compared to what you are going to get if you're general admission?
I know we've discussed multiple times the swag bag and why we don't like the fact that they got rid of it and went to the coupon book. And I think I'm growing more and more against the fact that gave us the coupon book because the price for Gen Con keeps going up.
Yeah. Well, and obviously this year it's because they have Lucas Oil Stadium.
True, and I know they're paying for the extra space and they're divvying that out to everybody, and that's fine. But you're asking people to do something that last year they paid $80 for, and next year it's $120.
Right now?
No, right now it's not. It's 90
if you get your
sure, but it'll be $120 when you walk in.
Yeah.
Which
at the door.
Yeah, that's a significant upcharge
amount of money
for a coupon book and access to the convention.
Right.
When VIGs are paying $500 and they're getting all those extra perks and so forth.
At this point, it's almost worth spending the extra money for the VIG. Because you're already going to pay $120.
True, but there's a limited number there,
sure.
And that's
sure. Yeah,
they're
fast.
Yeah,
I hope that Gen Con's cost increase is worth the increase. I have thought the last couple years that though the coupon book has kind of sucked, they've had a lot of things going on to make the cost increase worth it.
Sure.
This is a $30 price increase from last year. It better be worth it.
Right. Well,
and
you're talking, this is year 49?
Next year's a 50. Yeah.
And I mean, if I'm going to pay $120, $150 for a 50th anniversary for Gen Con,
give me a swag bag.
You better be. Yeah, you better give me something.
Right.
You know, and not even saying, I'm still going to go to Gen Con. Don't get me wrong. But, I mean, it kind of leaves a little bit of a sour taste in your mouth when it's like, hey, they have this really cool free dance party you can go to on Saturday night. Well, I'm at Gen Con, so I'm playing games on Saturday. If I wanted to go to a dance party on Saturday night, I live in Indianapolis, Indiana. There's enough places for me to be able to do that 365 days of the year. This Saturday night, I'm playing games.
Yeah, but it isn't a winter-themed dance party during the middle of the summer.
Well, that's kind of silly.
Let it go.
But I guess, I agree with you, Josh. That's kind of my point. It's like when you're looking at spending money on cons, and I open this up to our, kind of our discussion. When you're spending money on admission for cons, Gen Con is a big deal. They're going to have probably 75,000 people this year at Gen Con. $120 at the door is a load of money. I mean, that's a lot of money. And but what kind of things do you think you need to see at Gen Con or a convention like any convention that you're spending? The price for Indy PopCon and for Indiana ComicCon is fairly marginal. I think it's $60.
$60 for the weekend, $45. Yeah, $45 for today, $35 for Friday or Sunday.
Right, and I think that's in my opinion, really kind of a good.
Your 30 to 40 range usually.
You're spending money on a convention that you feel like is going to be worth it, but you're not spending too much.
Yeah,
and I think that when you start to get into that upper echelon of like 80, 90, 100, over $100. What kind of quality do you guys need to see in a con for that to even be worth it? Anybody?
My first thought, being here, and what you're saying is, I paid $45 to come here for the opportunity to buy more stuff that is usually overpriced already.
Right. That's true. That's very true.
So if you're upcharging me $30 more on top of whatever. If I'm paying $120 just to get in the door for the opportunity to buy something,
right?
I'm gonna look on Amazon first, honestly.
Oh, that's understandable.
Or maybe I'll wait outside the guy's hotel and be creepy. I don't know, but I mean, you're overpricing a lot of things here already, and now you want to keep increasing the price. What are you going to do for me to pay for that? Is my question.
What are the exclusives that you can only get at the con that makes it worth going?
Exactly.
To the con?
Yeah, you need con exclusives. Interactives, anything that you can actually get involved with, things that you get you in the door, and they just have to show it to you. They got to shove it in your face. I mean, they have to essentially show you how appreciative they are of you being here.
And that's kind of what I'm getting at. Personally, for me, it's the kind of I love playing in the Pathfinder exclusive games that we play during the weekend.
Yeah.
Those cost $8.
They're $2 an hour. Just $10. It's $10 for the 5-hour session. Yeah.
What's cool is you get a fun Pathfinder exclusive mini for the con for playing in the game each day you play. So if you play Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, you get 3 cool minis. and you gotten the experience to be able to sit down and play an exclusive game that they're only playing at that con for that weekend.
Well,
I like that.
Yes, they're only playing at that con in our region because everything that happens Pathfinder special wise all runs at PaizoCon also.
Right. Well, and that's
because it's their con.
Right. That's a little bit different beast. But I mean, like, even to the extent of like, we've talked about this a little bit before when they have like con promo minis or something, or like you can only come and play King of Tokyo at Gen Con and get the Space Penguin. You know what I mean? And you have to win in order to get that. Like, to me, if I'm paying $120 for the event, and then for Gen Con, and then I'm walking in and I'm putting $10, $12, $15 down to play King of Tokyo, I better get something.
Well,
you know what I mean? Like, to me, because the cost is coming out of the vendors.
With Gen Con, though, the $2 an hour charge they have for the games, I actually think is a completely reasonable charge. I might have said $1 an hour, but the $2 an hour charge is you're paying for the space oftentimes in the hotels, and because the game masters are very often putting in 40 to 80 hours of their own time to get their badge paid for, that $2 an hour is to cover the badge cost,
right?
And in some cases cover hotel costs. I don't mind paying $2 an hour in those game situations, but those games are often only available during Gen Con,
right?
And thus you have the badge to get access to those games, and again, only available through Gen Con. I think that phrase is what you're paying for. And I think that's why I made the statement earlier that so far, the $80, and look, I'm being very open and honest. Our podcast gets a couple of press badges, but otherwise everyone else in the podcast buys a badge.
Right.
That's what happens.
A couple.
Yes, literally two. This year was two, which we're extremely thankful for, and thank you so much. We're not bad-mouthing Gen Con. We're not bad-mouthing any of the cons. It's just looking at the premise of, is the price increase going to be worth it? If you are paying $120 at the door, you are coming to the Gen Con the first year inside Lucas Oil Stadium.
Yeah.
That's a pretty significant thing to say, is that only at Gen Con will you be able to have a convention experience inside Lucas Oil Stadium, which is fantastic.
Going into Lucas Oil Stadium during Gen Con will literally be, and I'm a huge Colts fan, literally be the first time I've ever been in Lucas Oil Stadium.
Only at Indiana ComicCon, which is where we are today, are you going to be able to meet Leah Thompson this year in Indiana?
Right.
Or are you going to be able to meet Ian McDermott?
Draw. That's a big. I think when you're talking about cons that are not like Gen Con is the best 4 days of gaming. You still get industry people, you still get stars and stuff like that, but in general, I think what draws a lot of people to cons is the celebrities that come and some of the hype that's built around it. Kaytie, when it comes to what attracts you to different conventions and things like that, and then knowing, allocating the price and allocating the time you need to set aside for, even if it's just one day, what's the process that you kind of go through personally to make it well worth the money that you're putting in?
Well, it depends on the convention, obviously. Because, like, for me, Comic-Con, this is the second year in a row that I've only gone one day.
Sure.
Because I got online, I looked at the exhibit hall map. I was like, okay. I was like, this is who's going to be there. This is what's going on. The exhibit hall is this big. I can see all of this in one day. I really wanted to get my picture with John Rhys Davies, which I got.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Awesome.
It was really cool. But yeah, for me, like the smaller cons like PopCon and Comic-Con, the celebrities who are coming play a big part on how many days I want to be there, because maybe somebody's only going to be there Sunday, and I want to go Saturday too because that's the best day to go to see costumes and stuff. And for Gen Con, it's an entirely different beast because I already know I'm going to be there all 4 days. For me, a huge part of Gen Con is, the super time-intensive, intricate cosplays that we do. So that's another big draw. And it is the gaming, too. It's to see, like, what's Fantasy Flight got out this year? What's going to be their exclusive only at Gen Con? We've got 50 copies. Everybody's going to bull rush the Fantasy Flight booth. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it just depends on the con and what I decide is going to be worth my money, and what how I decide if I'm going to go all 4 days, 3 days, however many days it is.
Okay.
So is that our summary? Is only at only at X-Con. This can happen. Never mind. Only at Indiana Comic-Con, only at Indy PopCon, only at Gen Con. I mean, that is your draw. Is the money worth the things you will only see at this convention?
Yeah.
Josh, go ahead.
That varies from convention to convention. I personally don't feel like. As far as Indiana Comic Con is concerned, $40 a day is worth it for me because it only takes up half the convention center. That's probably partially because I'm spoiled doing Gen Con every year, so I already have high expectations, and it's somewhat difficult for other conventions to meet those expectations.
Well, the reason they can charge that much is because they have so much space and they have that much attendance. They could double the attendance.
The fact of the matter is, too, it's not cheap to rent half of the convention center. So, I mean, they're going to have to at least charge a fair amount in order for them to be able to just in order for them to just break even. But I think as far as things like Gen Con, I think it's worth the money that I've spent so far on passes. There are various other cons too, like PopCon, things like that I've always enjoyed thoroughly, and I would pay for tickets every year if I needed to.
The question I have for Avital is, if attendance continues to increase at any convention, and the price of that convention continues to go up, at what point does it start to become a little bit too much to continue to go? For example, if last year Gen Con had 65,000 people, and this year they're probably going to have 75,000 people because every year they've grown at a fairly
5,000 to 10,000 a year, yeah.
Compared to other conventions around the world, that convention grows so quickly in attendance.
If not more, considering they're expanding.
Right, if not more. Right. And you're paying more money now than you ever have for a Gen Con badge. At what point do you just kind of say, okay, well, that's too much. Like, I can't do that, or,
I don't know. I feel like my reasons for going to cons are different than a lot of other people's reasons for going to cons.
Why do you go to cons?
Well, alright, so, a lot of people, I want to see this celebrity, or this person, or whatever, this voice actor, etc., etc. I mean, not Gen Con as much, but I have gone to one convention specifically to see someone, and that was Jewel State.
Sure.
The Firefly. I mean, that's unsurprising considering I have a Kaylee costume. But I mean, I really go to conventions for people.
Okay.
To spend time with friends, to see the people that are there,
Sure.
To see costumes, to wear a costume. I honestly, a lot of the time, don't. It's like I'm spending money to hang out with friends,
Right.
but it's such a fun environment that it's worth it for me. And Gen Con, as long as I have the funds, I'll probably keep paying whatever price it is, even if I don't necessarily play that many games while I'm there.
Okay.
Part of also what makes Gen Con worthwhile for me is that they have a bunch of writing workshops going on all the time, and those are all free.
Okay.
Like different classes and things about writing and lots of various aspects of writing. And
It's
a lot of it
paying for school more than
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of that is related to the type of writing that I'm interested in, like fantasy type things and speculative fiction, fantasy, science fiction, all that kind of stuff, which is unsurprisingly what a lot of people here are interested in because it's all geeky stuff.
Right. And that's a legitimate reason.
The good thing about Gen Con is since it's such a big convention, they've got a lot of those. They've got a lot of those types of classes for just various things, like building cosplay outfits, or like you said,
Pole dancing.
Right. I mean,
right, Kaytie?
Yeah.
the list goes
a lot
on
of
and
really
on.
fun, interesting things.
Yeah. So the bigger it gets, I feel like the more opportunity you'll get for that type of thing.
So to kind of help Aaron, how many cons have you been to in general? You go to cons all over the place.
Yeah, relatively within the region. Obviously, most of them in Indianapolis, any of them that pop up. I go to Chicago quite a bit.
How many would you say on average you've gone to in a year's time, like in the last, say, 3 years, on average?
I'd say on average, I average about 3 to 4.
3 to 4 cons a year?
There's been years that I've done 7 or 8, and
then years you've done like 2.
Yeah.
Right on.
So,
so I guess what I'd really love is for us to kind of go around and talk about, especially, Josh is a new con goer. This is his first con. And obviously there was some preparation you had to have to come and have a good time. I mean, obviously you wanted to get autographs and things like that, but I would love for us to go around the table and kind of give like advice, tips to people who are getting into con going, or maybe you've been to Gen Con 12 years in a row, but you want to check out, this year will be my 13th Gen Con, and it was my first Hoosier Con, and I had a blast. You know what I mean? Like, just kind of some advice or something to kind of help open the eyes of con goers in general. I'd love to go around the table and start with you, Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, my preparation process, obviously I study the dickens out of the schedules that they post, and just they're always going to post the panel schedules usually. If it's a good enough con, they'll post all the panels at least. A lot of times you don't get the autograph or photo op schedules until you're actually at the con. Indiana ComicCon did provide them beforehand on their website and their app, so that was fantastic. But you kind of have to pick and choose. I mean, there's a lot of panels I would love to go to, but if I'm here for one particular guest and they're starting their autographs maybe even just an hour and a half beforehand, I have to figure I'm probably not going to that panel because I might be waiting in line for 2 to 3 hours. So I mean, I check out the schedule, I pack accordingly, I have a specific backpack I bring, a specific binder I bring to every con, and snacks, just quick snacks, because I don't know how long I'm going to be in line, because that's a big problem that you're going to run into if you're waiting in line for 3 hours, is, well, if I'm by myself, like yesterday I came to the convention by myself, today I had Josh with me, so we could trade off if one of us had to go to the bathroom or anything like that. But if you're by yourself, and especially if it had been my first con experience, I'm by myself, I'm in line for 3 hours, I can't leave to go get food, I can't leave to go to the bathroom, it might be my last con.
Right.
Yeah.
So just, comfortable shoes. that's a big one.
Yeah.
Big one. Food, water, bottle of water in your bag. You just have to just pull out all the stops and give it a lot more consideration than my first con. I went to, I think I was 11 or 12, and I went with my dad, and we had no idea about the world at all, and I was not prepared for that. And the thing I took away from that was I'm never letting that happen again.
Right. Yep. I can see that.
So yeah, it's a lot of prep work. There are people that can come and enjoy the one day thing, but I feel like a lot of those people didn't get the full experience of it. A lot of conventions have a lot to offer, even not just Q&A panels. There are fan panels that are fantastic. I mean, I know there's a lot of Indianapolis natives that put a lot of hard work and time into those fan panels, and it shows, and I love to attend those. So yeah, check out the schedule, make sure you know everything that it has to offer, because there are a lot of people out there that just see the big names and they're like, oh, well, that con's for meeting that person, getting that person's autograph. But if you look beneath the surface, you'll find a lot of things in cons that you can enjoy.
Lance.
For me, preparing for a con starts way before the con does. It's, do I have the time off? Do I have the time that I can leave my kids and my wife at home if they want to stay at home and just have that time to myself? Or if I'm bringing the kids and my wife, is there going to be enough time where I can get away and just be with the kids? Because because they're going to get tired sooner. They're going to get hungry a lot more often. Am I going to sacrifice what I want to do for them, or am I just going to say, look, it'd be better if you guys didn't come. I'll just go the one day. It'll be a blitz, and I'll be out.
Sure.
So first, I got to get the time. Then it's got to be, is it financially feasible? Today was Leah Thompson Day for me. That's been calling it. I haven't even called it ComicCon. It's just Leah Thompson Day. I was going to come see Leah Thompson no matter what it cost. But I might not have gone shopping if it would have been more cost prohibitive to do so. But she made it, her handlers made it affordable to be able to come and see her, and I did twice.
Sure.
After that, it's another money management thing. I love comics. I'm kind of a comic book geek when it comes to the group. I didn't buy a single comic book. I didn't look at many comic book things today because the money that I spent was allocated for going to see Leah Thompson and the celebrity thing. And if I spend more money, that means I don't get to take my daughter to the Children's Museum, or I don't get to take my son and buy him an outfit that I really want to have my mind set on for him. You know? So I have to, what sacrifices will I be willing to make? Do I be selfish because it's my one day of the month to just do what I want, or do I keep them in mind? And I'd like that $4,000 comic book, but if I do that, my wife doesn't get our anniversary ring next year.
Right.
You know?
Right. And I don't think I think that what I like about that idea is it's not even saying that either side of that is wrong or right. It's just saying, okay, well, what do I want to do the most?
Where does my priorities lie?
Right, exactly. You know, being able to buy an anniversary ring for your wife is very important for you, but it's also very cool for you to have the idea of, well, I could, instead of maybe getting this $4,000 comic book, maybe I'll just buy a couple penny comic books and sit down and, read them with my daughter and keep them for my son when he's old enough to, I really like that idea of just having that mentality still in the back of your head going, I want to have a good time, and I know I can have a good time just as well spending $50 as spending $5,000.
Yeah. There's an X-Men for sale for $4,000.
Yeah,
original print. So I just wanted to reach out and touch it to say I had.
Yeah.
But I know that I'm saving money for other things, so that
Sure.
plays a part. As far as advice goes, have a bag.
Yeah.
Is number one. Comfortable shoes is another good one. But have a bag, fill it with something to drink, a small snack. Some deodorant would be nice for some folks.
Yeah.
Pen, paper. If you're going to see a celebrity, maybe something that is more geared toward them. A DVD, a poster of
Twix bar.
them. A Twix bar for Leah Thompson, whose first commercial was a Twix commercial. Howard the Duck DVD also.
Right.
Those types of things, so that it's more personal than you just go up there and have a piece of paper that they give you.
Right.
Please put your name on it, and then that's it. That's your whole interaction. She was very happy that I had the Twix because no one had ever brought her a Twix before. It made her smile.
Right. I heard you did a Pringles can.
Yeah, I wanted to buy a duck mask, but I couldn't find one. So I just got a couple of Pringles and made a duck face, and we ended up having a moment with that too, and it made her laugh and smile. And she actually asked for a second copy of that photo for herself.
That's very cool.
Moments like that make the cost worth it, because now I don't just have a memory; I have a story.
Right.
Oh, I paid $100 to go to that con. What'd you do? Stood in line all day.
Nothing. Right.
I paid $100 to go to that con. What'd you do? Stood in line all day. But at the end of that line, this happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
So much more worth it.
Yeah.
That manage your time, make rest breaks a part of your day. Otherwise, your back's going to hurt from standing when you're not used to standing all day.
Especially on a concrete floor.
Yeah. Yep.
And bring friends if you can. Try to hook up with a group, just so you have people to talk to, because that's what this is for us. We're talking about our experiences.
Yeah, because even if you and I stand in line and I have absolutely no need for a Leah Thompson autograph, if we're standing in line together, we can joke about Back to the Future and all that stuff, you know, and then you get up there and you get to enjoy having that moment, and then it's like, oh, cool, we got to spend an hour and a half, 2.5 hours in line waiting on an autograph, but at least I wasn't bored.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, at least it was worth it. Because I got this
boredom will stop you from coming to con.
Right, absolutely. Josh.
I feel like you need to be prepared to improvise. There's a lot of things that you might plan for as like maybe a first time goer. Like let's say you want to do like 4 different autographs on a Saturday, but you're only going to have enough time to do 2 autographs because like in Josh's case, he took 3 hours altogether just to get 2. So, I mean, in that case, you kind of need to weigh your options of what's more important. Do you want to spend spend the rest of the day trying to get 1 more autograph, or do you want to, maybe spend some time actually walking around the exhibit hall, or, hanging out with friends or whatever, taking pictures of cosplayers. Or like in the case of Gen Con, going to their cosplay competition or whatever it is. I think it's good to do research on what they've got going on. That way you can kind of plan accordingly, have a plan A, plan B, maybe even a plan C if that doesn't work. But yeah, I think overall planning ahead is good. Also bringing snacks is good too, because even if you do have time to get things, it's not always convenient to get food, at least from the convention perspective, because as far as where